Alrighty, my friends. Today we are going to talk about the coercive acts, which the colonists later named the intolerable acts. We're going to open up to lesson number 9 on Google Classroom. So go ahead and head there. Once you're there, you also need to pull out a piece of notebook paper, plain white notebook paper with 3 holes on it. We're not going to do anything with that quite yet, but you're going to need it towards the end of the lesson. Okay. I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds to get on Google Classroom and get lesson number 9 pulled up on your Chromebooks. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start reading, and I'm going to do some pausing and some talking as we're going through this article today, since I'm not there with you to do the pausing and talking, so you'll still get to hear it, okay? So yesterday we watched a Liberties Kids over this, and we talked briefly about a few of the acts, a few of the laws that were part of the coercive acts, later called the intolerable acts. So we're going to dive in a little bit deeper today, okay? All righty. The English government was furious. Okay, so stop and think. Furious. What kind of emotion is that? That's an angry emotion, right? The English government, that's Parliament, was furious. They're angry about the rebellious Boston Tea Party. To punish the colonists, Parliament passed a series of laws, so that means several laws wrapped into one big law, called the Coercive Acts. The colonists renamed these laws the Intolerable Acts because they were truly not tolerable, right? So that prefix in, tolerable, in means not, right? So if something is not tolerable, that means you can't put up with it, right? And the colonists don't think they should have to put up with these acts. Second paragraph. The first of the coercive acts included the closing of the Boston Harbor. They actually called it the blockade of the Boston Harbor. Parliament declared that the harbor would remain closed until payment was made for the tea that the colonists had destroyed. Another word for repaying something you have destroyed is the word restitution. I'll say that again. Restitution. So the blockade of the harbor is going to be there. The harbor will be closed until restitution has been paid, meaning the 342 crates that were thrown off of the tea ships into the Boston Harbor. Until those crates are paid for, the blockade will stay there, okay? British warships formed a blockade around the harbor so that no ships could pass through to dock. So a warship, let's think. So a merchant ship is just a regular old ship that brings stuff, brings people into the colonies. A warship is built much different. They're built to carry more weight because we've got cannons on a warship. We have cannonballs made of solid iron on a warship. And warships have the little square holes cut into the sides of the ship to put the cannons out through, almost like little windows, so that they can shoot cannons out of the side at times of war. And they used warships to try and scare the colonists into following and behaving. This also meant that no ships could come into the colonies and no ships could go out. So if that's happening, that's really going to damage our economy. And that's what we even see here in our last sentence in the second paragraph. This was devastating to trade and to the economy of Boston. So let's take a real life example. Let's say we'll go back to my Stanley Cups, to my bedazzled Stanley Cups. Well, to bedazzle Stanley Cups, I have to have cups. So let's say that in England, somebody's making those Stanley Cups, the plain boring ones, nothing bedazzled on them. I have to be able to get those cups imported, brought into the colonies so that I can bedazzle them and then sell them. Well, if no ships can get in to bring me more cups, I only have the cups that I have. That's not good, because once I sell all of my cups, I don't have a way to make a living. If I have no way of bringing in income, bringing in money, that's going to be tough for my family. Let's say I've got 8 children, okay? So it's going to be hard for me to feed me, my husband, and our 8 kids if I don't have money to do that. And our regular Friday night trips to the pizzeria, let's say that, who did I say this morning? Case. Case owns a pizzeria. We're not going to be going to the pizzeria if we don't have money to buy food in our own home as it is. Well, I'm probably not the only person struggling with my small business. So I bet a lot of people are going to stop going out to the pizzeria on Friday night. And if Case isn't making money at the pizzeria, it's going to be hard for him to pay for his wife and his 4 kids to eat, right? And if they can't eat, they're probably not going to be going to the movie theater, right? To Madison's movie theater on the weekends, and neither will any of the rest of us. So then Madison's movie theater is going to probably close down or struggle, and then she can't feed her family. So it's a trickle down effect. It's kind of like a snowball. If I can't make money in my business, then I can't pay and support another. Then that business is going to lose out. And same thing, and it would just go on and on and on. So it's hurting the economy. It is. It's devastating. And not only is it hurting us in the colonies, but the company that would be making the Stanley Cups back in England, if they can't get any cups into the colonies for me to buy, that's going to damage their business as well. So it's hurting everybody. But we'll learn a little bit more why Parliament decided to pass this law, really. Okay, that's the first. The blockade. So it would kind of be like in Red Rover where you hook arms with somebody and you make a line and somebody tries to break through. That's what the blockade is. The ships are all around the harbor so that nobody can get in and nobody can get out. They're preventing ships from moving, merchant ships in and out. Okay. Paragraph 3, let's read about our second thing, our second law in the Coercive Acts. The second of the coercive acts included a law stating that the Massachusetts legislature could no longer meet. The colony was to be run by the British military and was no longer able to make its own laws or decisions. So what that means is that the Massachusetts colony was put under martial law. Martial law means that we as individuals no longer have power. The police don't have power. Lawmakers don't have power. All of the power lies in the military. That's why they were talking about a curfew yesterday in our Liberties Kids. The military can put out a curfew, let's say 8 p.m. After 8 o'clock, if you are caught outside of your home, you can be taken to jail and be arrested unless you can prove a really good reason that you're out. But even if it was a good reason, the military still has a right to arrest you. That's what military law is, martial law. The military comes in and takes over. Usually martial law happens when there's a lot of unruly or unrestful behavior going on in a city, a state, or a town. In this case, all of the rebellion and the protests, the Boston Tea Party, the burning of the stamps, things like that, this is all rebellious behavior. So they're sending the military in to try and gain control of the colony. So that's our second. Our first was the Boston Harbor being blockaded, right? No ships in, no ships out. The second is sending in the military. The Massachusetts legislature can no longer meet, and the whole colony is under martial law. Okay. Our third is the last one we're going to learn about here in our fourth paragraph down. The third of the coercive acts was the Quartering Act, right? We talked about this one yesterday. This law forced colonists to house British soldiers in their homes. This was a hated law because the soldiers entered colonists' homes uninvited, took over their bedrooms, and ate the family's food. So let's go back to that hurting economy, right? If I don't have money to feed my own family, do you think I really have the money that I'm going to be able to feed grown adult soldiers who just bust into my home and said, hey, we want to stay here? Yeah, no, I'm not going to have the money for that to feed them. So then my family is going to be hurting to make sure the soldiers are taken care of, right? So that's our third one, the Quartering Act, right? And they called it the Quartering Act because your home where you slept is your quarters. That's what it's called, the Quartering Act, okay? So, not fun, right? Nobody liked that one, especially not that one. So, quick review. The closing of the Boston Harbor, it was the blockade of the Boston Harbor. The second one is the Massachusetts legislature can no longer meet, martial law. The third is the Quartering Act. Okay, let's go down to our last paragraph. Parliament passed the coercive acts because they wanted to tighten their control over the colonies, right? They're wild over there, so they've got to try and gain control to show them who's boss, who's in power. They hoped these new laws would end the rebellion in the colonies. This law actually had the exact opposite effect. Colonial protests increased and colonists became more resentful of England. So not only did these laws not work, they had the opposite effect. So now protests are happening more often. Rebellion is happening even more. And the colonists just aren't going to put up with it. Okay, so we're going to do an activity. This is what you need your white piece of paper for, your notebook paper. So go ahead, make sure your holes are on your left-hand side. I want the holes on the left-hand side of your paper. Let's see, I'm going to snag somebody's paper. Oh, here's a good one. I'll snag somebody's paper real quick. Madison Welker, I'm borrowing your paper. It was on the top of my stack. So holes on the left side of the paper, okay? Left side. And then I want your name. Your name's going to go in the upper right-hand side, okay? I hope that's not backwards. Either way, when you put your paper down on your desk, the hole should be on the left-hand side. That big white space, that's called the margin, that should be up at the top. And then your name is going to go in the upper right-hand corner. So on the opposite side of the holes, okay? We're going to do a quick 5-minute write, okay? Only 5 minutes. That's it. I'm not asking for multiple paragraphs. I don't need perfect spelling. My focus here, please use capital letters. Capitalization and punctuation, a period at the end of a sentence. Those are important here. But you're going to spend 5 minutes writing for me. That's it, just 5. 5 minutes writing about the following prompt, okay? And if you give me just a second, I'll share this to your screen as well so that you can see what I'm asking of you, okay? So let's see. Here we go. Okay, so there it is. No, not that one. One moment, please. It's here somewhere. Oh, I put it in a different window. That's why. I got it. Hold on. It's coming. It's coming. Here we go. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. So you are going to write to the following prompt, okay? 5 minutes, that's all I want, 5 minutes. Just a quick write to the following 2 questions. Why did the colonists call the coercive acts the intolerable acts? Explain what was so intolerable about them. You can use the article, keep your article up if you want to refer back to it. Now, I don't need you to do race. I don't need you to restate answer. I don't need you to cite the evidence. You don't even have to say according to the text. That's not what I want. I just want you to answer those 2 questions and you're going to write for a full 5 minutes, whatever you can get down on paper in 5 minutes. Tell me why the colonists called the coercive acts the intolerable acts and explain what made those acts, those 3 parts, so intolerable. Okay, so 5 minutes. I believe your sub is going to put a 5-minute timer up for you. So listen for that. You only get 5 minutes. She's probably going to tell you, she or he, I don't know who, is going to tell you when you've got about a minute left so you can start wrapping your sentences up. 5 minutes, that's all. And these are going to be collected at the end of class. Okay, so I'm going to leave this here for you on the screen, and your guest teacher can pause it to make sure you guys can still see this. But that's all we're going to do for today. So you heard our lesson. Now you're going to do a quick 5-minute write for me. And I can't wait to read them. I'm so excited. Okay. All righty. That is all we're doing for today. Your 5 minutes will be up shortly, and I will see you tomorrow.